Okay, zoning board, we are live, we are recording, phone lines are off. Go for it.
Thank you, Matt. I want to welcome everyone to the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of August 9th, 2022. Tonight is a work session. We'll begin right away. I will be sitting in tonight for Chairman Roy Deline, who could not be with us. We'll start with our first post-hearing decision, and it's for Andrew Mincer of 67 Leeton Road, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-131-03-16.1. The size and location is 8,192 square feet at Montauk on the Sea, Section 1, Lot 32, Map 2438, Amagansett. The description is to remove an existing curb, stone steps, wood walkway, and wood decking, and to construct approximately 782 square feet of first and second story additions. Two approximately 20 square foot dormers, 887 square feet of decking, extend the driveway, install a new IA sanitary system, and to clear approximately 2,761 square feet of vegetation with revegetation on a parcel of land containing dune land and beach vegetation. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20 of the East Hampton Town, and two variances are required for this application. Variances of 3 foot 9.5 inches and 1 foot 10 inches are required from 255-11-72D of the Town Code in order to construct the proposed addition. 3 foot 9.5 inches and 1 foot 10 inches outside of the town's pyramid regulations along the eastern and western lot lines respectively, and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence, AE flood zone, elevation 10, and the secret class is type 2. And I believe this was Member Berger's case.
Yes, it was. Okay, this hearing, you'll recall, was originally on June 28th of 2022. The agent was from Due East, Shannon McCaffrey, and the lot size here is 8,192 square feet total. This needs an NRSP for 255-420 for dune land and beach vegetation, which you can see on the surveys or to the north of the property, north side. These additions, they're asking for quite a bit in new additions. There's a 515-foot first floor to the north and the east of the first floor addition, and 267-foot addition to the north on the second floor, totaling what that totals. 782 feet of total additions. The pyramids, as you recall, they were noticed on the west side of the house where they're bringing out a dormer on the second story to increase the height there. Is the 1.1 foot 10 inch variance that's necessary for the pyramid. And on the east side, the variance for the dormer is 3 foot 9.5 inches. It was not noticed for the first floor addition, but that addition extends out and also pierces the pyramid on the eastern side at a point that the planner pretty much calculated was 3 feet 5.5 inches for the first floor addition. So the proposed dormer additions are not that extensive. They're 12 foot long toward the back of the house. However, the proposed addition runs pretty much from the whole front of the house to the back and a little bit beyond the back. It's unclear whether the pyramid violation extends to where the first floor addition cuts in slightly toward the west, but as it lays out on the survey, it's approximately 24 feet long, where they do need the 3.5 inch variance. They're also proposing to take out the the stone walkway around the house, and that's all going to be replaced with proposed to another deck in the front of the house. The front entrance is going to be redone, and there's a proposed deck and a proposed deck on the second story also. Is proposed, well, the second story addition and other decking that's going to extend around for the entire house. And with this, they are offering mitigation, although I'm not quite sure if it's actually mitigation, but mitigation of an IA system, which will cause them to redesign the driveway. The IA system would go where some of the driveway is now, and they're looking to extend the driveway on the southeastern side of the house. Now, all in all, I feel this is a very large ask at this location. The lot size is 8,192 square feet, and they're bringing this almost entirely, a little bit shy of 100 feet, close to the maximum limit for this property itself. Additionally, the pyramid ask on the east side of the house in particular, I think is a big ask. The property, the addition over there it's 11.2 feet because of the 4/10 rule on the size of this property or the width of this property, 11.2 feet away. And the proposed addition goes right out to that 11.2 feet. So I think overall that this is an overly aggressive project. They've offered revegetation, but they're proposing during construction that there's an additional 2,800 square feet of additional clearing. However, they're going to revegetate, but the clearing at the end of the project, if it's approved, is 4,253 square feet from the current existing clearing of 3,089 feet. So that's almost 1,200 feet in additional clearing. I think overall this project is too aggressive for this property. I think it will be a detriment to the neighbors, particularly to the east, but overall, I think it's not in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. And I think there are alternatives. Another thing that is bothersome to me is that the proposed clearing line is just about along the entire property lines at the east, the west, the south, and the north. The addition extends out a little bit toward the north, as does the second story addition. So all in all, I am looking to deny this project. I think it doesn't meet the NRSP standards, although they're offering an IA system. I think I don't see the improvements to the environment that would be as a result of this. And I think the project itself, the house itself would be too much for this location. So I am looking to deny it. I think it's not in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. I think the benefit to the applicant does not outweigh the potential detriment to the town and the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. Denise?
Yes, this is an 8,192 square foot lot asking for NRSP and variances, which seem minuscule, but they're really not. This is very sensitive duneland. Beach vegetation exists throughout this entire area, and the proposed project requires an NRSP in order to clear 2,761 square feet of beach vegetation and also to be constructed within duneland. I do agree with Member Berger that the level of development is inappropriate for this site. The lot coverage proposed is 1,544, allowed is 1,638. The gross floor area proposed numbers were updated at our public hearing, are now the proposed is 2,332 and allowed is 2,419. The site has almost reached a point of saturation and cannot really sustain the additional development requested and protect the natural features at the same time. The project is proposing to clear 2,761 square feet of vegetation with 1,597 square feet of revegetation. Many of these parcels in this area were developed prior to natural resources zoning regulations. The installation of an IA system is not and should not be a tool to further develop a site that is already severely constrained. So this application, I feel, is not in keeping with 255-551 and 255-540 of the town code, and for these reasons, I am denying this application.
Thank you, Denise. I'm in agreement with my fellow board members, and I think that a nice job was done in explaining the reasons why we're having some problems with this application. I will say that I agree with the notion that it's just an overly aggressive project. We talked about the GFA going from, upwards of the maximum allowed 2419 at 2342, which is within 77 feet of it. And the fact that there's some space in there only indicates that how close they've become. It's no guarantee that because 2419 is the maximum allowable, we should go. We look at this light this lot and the constrictions on it, and some of the points that were made by Member Berger about the clearing that's to happen to both the east and the west here. I think that we're looking at an application that is really far too aggressive for the lot. It's 12,000. It's a 12,000-foot lot. We're looking at an additional clearing of 1,200 feet. We're looking at these additions. And one thing that bothered me in particular was this notion that we were going to be adding a basement excavation to the rear of the house and on one side. Basement excavation would cause for a fair amount of disturbance in a kind of collateral basis where any machinery that has to be brought back there would be doing other damage. I don't believe that what we're seeing here is the best possible effort to achieve that goal. And so I'm in agreement with, as also was mentioned by Member Savarese, that relative to 255-5-51, that under D 1 and 2, all three of those, the preservation of natural resources, the alternate reasonable uses, and the alternate designs, all of these could have been looked at in a more careful way in this particular potential for a project. And I think that under 255-5-40, K in particular, in terms of environmental protection, a project of this size, maxing out the amount of space on the property that they hope to use, I think does not do the maximum to protect us from environmental protection. I don't believe it rises to the NRSP standards. And in agreement with my fellow board members, I am looking to deny this application.
Did you say 12,000-foot lot? It's 8192.
Oh yeah, 8192. I'm sorry, I was reading the wrong line. I'll stand corrected. Thank you. Are we good with this, council?
We are just confirming that the corrected GFA at the public hearing in my notes as well is 2,342.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to, in a minute, move on to our next case here. Our next application for consideration is Lawrence Chaffetz of 56 Osprey Road, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-131-07-02. The size and location is 7,552 square feet. And it's on Montauk on the Sea, Section 1, Lot 113, map number 2438. Suffolk County Tax Map already read in. Description is to construct 180 square foot gross floor area dormer additions, allow 150 square foot of decking, 2 sheds totaling 75 square feet, 56 square feet, and a 56 square foot spa hot tub, walkways, and an outdoor shower to remain, and to install a new IA sanitary system within side and rear yard setbacks. All are outside of the town's pyramid regulations at a 3rd story and on a parcel of land containing beach vegetation. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20 of the East Hampton Town Code, and 5 variances are required for this application. 1 variance of 8 foot 8.5 inches is required from 255-11-72D of the Town Code in order to construct the proposed dormer addition at 8 foot, 8.5 inches outside of the town's pyramid regulations along the eastern lot line. One variance of 2 foot is required from 255-11-10 of the Town Code in order to allow the existing shed to remain 8 foot from the western side yard lot line where a 10-foot setback is required. 2 variances of 8 foot and 6 foot are required from 255-11-10 of the Town Code in order to allow the existing hot tub to remain 12 feet and 14 feet from the western side yard lot line and southern rear yard lot line where 20-foot setbacks are required respectively. One variance from 255-11-10 of the Town Code is required to construct third-story additions where 2.5 stories is the maximum permitted and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence, AE flood zone, elevation 10. The secret class is type 2. This was mine. Okay, so I will start. Chaffetz. The hearing, you'll remember, was held on June 21, 2022. We were working from a survey of from Barliski Land Surveying of 4/29/2021, April 29, 2021. This board entertained a similar application for this parcel in 2021. The applicant was represented by Joel Halsey at the hearing. Applicant Lawrence Chaffetz appeared on his own behalf. The project architect, Dawn Heifetz, also spoke on behalf of the applicant. Additionally, we received a letter of support from the neighbor at 60 Osprey Road, the owner of the residence immediately to the east of the applicant's parcel. The residence on this parcel is unique to the neighborhood as it is set on a true north-south axis, while the other houses on the street are set perpendicularly to Osprey Road in a more northwest-southeast direction. These factors enter into the decision-making process for this application. At the public hearing, it was pointed out that this parcel has been in the ownership of the Chaffetz family for the past 40 years, although it has only been owned by Lawrence Chaffetz since 2018. As read into the record, the applicant is currently looking for approval of an NRSP and 4 variances. One variance is to allow the shed on the west side of the house to remain 8 feet from the property line, and 2 variances are required to leave the hot tub within the required 20-foot setback at the southeast of the property. These 2 variants were not of great concern to the planning department, and I would agree with that perspective. It was pointed out by Joel Halsey at the time that had the hot tub been a slightly different dimension, no variance would have been needed at all. It sits now in a protected spot that I did not find to be particularly bothersome to the neighbors. A 4th variance was requested to allow the construction of the dormers and the space that they would create in what is now considered by the town of East Hampton to be a 3rd floor. Relative to that request, I find that at the time of the construction of the residence, that the space that was not considered 3rd floor, and that while any approval of the creation of additional floor space on that level represents extending a nonconformity, I think that the net benefit to the applicant outweighs the problems created by granting an approval of the variance, particularly because these 2 additions, one to the nominal west and the other to the nominal east, will represent an improvement to safety with the construction of a code-compliant staircase. So the real discussion concerning this application concerned the dormers themselves. Modifying the architectural detailing from a previous application, the applicant has eliminated the need for a pyramid variance to the west, as the redesign of that dormer now brings the new design into conformity. The dormer to the east was similarly reconfigured, and as a result, the previously requested variance was reduced from the earlier application's 14.1 feet to the current request of 8.85 feet. Still, a very large ask when it comes to pyramid variances. Relative to this point, I've considered the intentions of 255-11-72D, and I don't feel that in this case that this new construction will force a hardship or serious inconvenience to the immediate neighbors or the neighborhood as a whole. I think that there are several factors relative to this request that lean in the applicant's favor. The cant upon which the residence is set protects the east-facing dormer from being seen readily on Osprey Road. The dormer's ridgeline length has been shortened from the previous application, which softens the appearance of the additions on both the west and east elevations. The overall mass of the existing roof line, which is 5.5 feet above current building height restrictions and would not be allowed to be built today, has already established a restriction on the view to the west for the residents of 60 Osprey Road, and the addition of this dormer will not add to that restriction. Additionally, both the houses to the immediate east and south of 56 Osprey already exist at a height that establishes a certain character to the applicant's immediate vicinity, and I don't find that the addition of the Chaffetz dormers will affect negatively either the owners of those parcels or other members of the community. I've also considered two other factors. One is that the applicant has offered to install an IA sanitary system that would not be required by the scope of this work, and that they also appear to have been good stewards of the land, as the dune environment to the southeast and west appears relatively healthy and its importance has been respected. Lastly, I believe that granting this application's request, given the size and of the overall project, and with the belief that with proper building protocols in place, that a minimum of collateral damage will be done to the site, that this project is more attractive in terms of environmental protection than any potential redevelopment that might be offered as an alternative. Hold on 1 minute. Then relative to the codes, say that relative to hold on, stop. Yeah, the NRSP standards of 255-5-51, the town code, in order to be eligible assistance to the NRSP, we have to consider preservation of natural resources under D, and the applicant also has to demonstrate compliance with the general standards 255-5-40, the town code, specifically compatibility and environmental protection. On all three of these counts, I've looked at this. I feel that the effort made by the applicant here in terms of the design, in terms of the fact that they are not increasing the footprint of the project, and that I see that the parcel can be, this work can be achieved without other additional damage to the parcel, the addition of the IA system, all of these weighed in the direction of me deciding to approve this application. Next, Denise, you want to go?
Okay. This is a 7,552 square foot lot, asking for an NRSP and 5 variances. Sensitive dune land and beach vegetation exists throughout this entire area, and many of the parcels in this area were developed prior to natural resources zoning regulations. This lot, due to its size, has, in my opinion, reached a saturation point and cannot sustain additional development that is being requested and protect the natural features at the same time. A large part of this property is pre-existing non-conforming. The house already has a 3rd story, and the applicant is asking to increase the non-conformity. The existing house is 5.5 feet out of pyramid. As it exists today, there's already a pyramid non-conformity. There is a number of pre-existing non-conforming structures on this property. One of my concerns is when applicants ask for multiple things that were done without any approval. It's very hard to be sympathetic. A lot has gone on with this, with no regard actually to the impact on the environment, legality, or proper permitting. The shed decking on the west side were all done without any approvals, and they need an NRSP. On the east side, the shed and hot tub require variances, which are substantial. And tonight, we're being asked to grant all of this, plus an 8-foot, 8.5-inch pyramid variance, along with a 3rd story variance. I'm always leery to grant more and setting a precedent, because we have to, so many situations like this in the town. And I feel that further development of this site is not in keeping with 255-850, 255-551, and 255-540. And for these reasons, I am denying this application.
Denise.
You're welcome.
Terry.
Okay. Interesting. I find it interesting. I think the hearing, by the way, was June 28th. But
Where's what?
small item. June 28th?
Yes.
Okay. I am not leaning, I am looking to approve this project, and what I find interesting is that, I guess, the co-chair and myself were both privy to the first hearing. So the way I view this is that there are some major improvements, in my opinion, that have been taken out as a result from the first application, which I believe was ultimately withdrawn. And that's the dormer, the pyramid request for the west side of the house is totally eliminated. And the other dormer was reduced down to an 8 foot, 8.5 inch dormer. I also agree on the hot tub, which is placed on the deck itself, that it was subject to double setback requirements on the east and the south. But I am looking to approve those variances. I think in the hot tub itself, I think is not a detriment to the duneland and vegetation on the property, since it does sit on top of the deck. And one thing I was impressed with this property is when you go to it and look at it, as the way the house is situated, and the houses to the south and to the east, which would be most impacted. There's quite a bit of space because of their placement and the placement of this house, which is unusual, that there's a lot of nice dune land and vegetation that's there. And the dormer increase is really not going to be visible, or certainly not protruding into either of those properties, the line of view. The shed itself is 2 foot variance. I am also okay with that. And I think that's not going to do any harm to any vegetation that's on the property. I'm glad, in this case, I think the IA system is a good mitigation for the project. And looking at the house, for me, if you're looking from the street, you actually catch more of a view of the house to the east as opposed to this property. It's set back, and it's an A-frame, so it just comes up to that point in the center. I think the mitigation in the project itself is good, and they're adding 180 feet of additional GFA total. Part of that is to get the headspace. And as far as the third floor, I think it's been there, it all is there. And as the architect, I think Dawn Heifetz, testified that part of the reason for this is to make it at least a code compliant egress to that property, the staircase, which is now 2.5 feet wide, and it would be made larger, so it's 3 foot, and be more compliant with egress from that to make it a legal bedroom. We did have the letter of support from the neighbor from the east. And I think that's nothing additional to what the co-chair already said. But as I said, I'm going to approve this project. And, I do find it interesting that with the second look is a factor.
Fresh eyes.
So council, we will continue this decision till next week.
You will. You'll carry this over to next week so that Chairperson Daleen can weigh in, because you don't have a board majority of sitting members.
We have a quorum, but we do not have a majority.
Correct. And if a new member, McGivern, wishes to familiarize herself with the record, she can weigh in on this as well
She can?
next week. If Joan wishes to familiarize herself with the public hearing and the record, then she can make a determination next week if she wishes.
Okay, good. Are we good then? We move on?
Yes, we move on.
Thank you. The next case is for Julian Mazursky, the third at 44 Beach Avenue, Amagansett. Suffolk County Tax Map 300-175-03-10. The size and location is 5,959 square feet. It's in Beach Hampton, Section 3, Block 4, Lots 4 and 5, map number 1287. The description is to construct a 1,220 square foot, two-story residence with 50 square feet of first floor deck, 50 square feet of second story deck, walkway, driveway, dry wells, and a new sanitary system on a parcel of land containing wetlands, beach vegetation, freshwater wetlands, and which is proposed outside of the town's pyramid regulations and exceeds the town's maximum lot coverage. The relief sought, a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20 of the East Hampton Town Code, and 8 variances are required for this application. Variances of 99.8 feet and 100 feet are required from 255-4-30C of the Town Code in order to construct the proposed residence on 0.2 feet and decking 0 feet from freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required. One variance from 255-4-30A is required to allow the decking to be constructed within the delineated wetlands where structures are prohibited. One variance of 112.9 feet from 255-4-30B of the Town Code is required to construct the new sanitary system 37.1 feet from freshwater wetlands where 150-foot setback is required. One variance of 50 foot is required from 255-4-30D of the Town Code to allow clearing up to and within the wetlands. Variances of 16.5 feet, approximately 15.5 feet, are required from 255-11-72D of the Town Code to allow the residence to be constructed outside of the town's pyramid regulations. 16.5 feet along the northern property line and 15.5 feet along the southern property line. Finally, one variance of 29 square feet from 255-11-10 of the Town Code to allow the property to have a lot coverage of 630 square feet when 601 square feet is the maximum allowable lot coverage and any other relief necessary. The zoning is B residence, AE flood zone, elevation 10. The SECRA class is type 2. This was also mine. And I'll begin. The hearing was also held on June 28th for this applicant, June 28th, 2022. The survey was from April 22nd, 2021. There was a set of blueprints that were issued with the application that were dated February 10th, 2019, and they were by Joseph Mazursky. There's also a declaration of covenants and restrictions dated December 17th, 2019 that was submitted with the application. I would say that this application has problems in several areas as we start to look at it. For 255-11-72D, immediately looking for the 16.5 and 15.5 pyramids along the northern and southern property lines. This is a rather large house for the size of the lot, particularly in terms of elevation. We're looking at a very narrow lot. It's 40 feet wide. We have a house that's designed that will allow, will cause these 2 pyramid violations and need for the variances. And certainly when we look at what the restrictions are on this very, very constrained lot, the idea that this 2-story house, which may be desired by the applicant, would be, appropriate, seems unacceptable to me. The variances in terms of 255-4-30C from wetlands of 100 feet, 99.8 feet are fairly much unprecedented that we would be doing anything along those lines to be awarding them. And I think that in the conversation we had with the applicant who was here, by the way, he was represented here at that meeting by Richard Whalen, but he did speak on his own behalf and felt that several things had happened that causes him to have to build and or to project to build in this way. One is that he has seen the flagged wetlands grow 20 feet closer to Beach Lane as he has, over the last 20 years. So that a flagging that was done in approximately 2004 now is the one that was followed up and done more recently shows a 20-foot progression. It makes it more difficult for him to find a place to place a house, and certainly there's no opportunity to meet the setbacks in any direction here. This is a really very interesting lot because not only is it narrow and it has the wetlands to the back, but it adjoins additional wetlands that are part of town properties that move to the west. And we demonstrated that, I think, with some photos during the hearing. Also, the idea of clearing up into the wetlands into 255-4-30D, the idea that we would be put in a position where we want to be allowing that kind of clearing was really clearly excessive. He was looking for a 29-foot variance from 255-11-10 for lot coverage for the house coverage of 630 feet, where only 601 is allowed, and that overall the approach here was one of a house that I felt was too large for the site, too tall for the site, and that there wasn't a lot of consideration given to what might be done as an alternative here to make a more palatable proposal. I think anyone could be sympathetic for the fact that this is a close to unbuildable lot in that sense that while there's a legal right to build on it, it is so constrained that a very creative effort will have to be made. I don't believe that this rises to any of the standards, and that I would say that there were a number of places that the planning department, our planners pointed out in the TAM very accurately, just that this is an egregious ask and that we cannot take it seriously until we see a more aggressive effort made on their part to try to conform to these very tight constrictions on there. And therefore, if we go to the standards here, I just want to say that I don't feel it fills any of the standards of 255-551, the preservation of natural resources, looking for an alternative reasonable use, looking for alternative designs, and under 255-5-40, that it's compatible with the site, which it's clearly not, and it's done its best to provide environmental protection. I think this is an application that can be rethought and resubmitted, but as we see it here, I felt at the time that this is an inappropriate building, an inappropriate project for a parcel with these very, very exaggerated, I would say, environmental demands on it. So I'm looking to deny this application at this time.
Me. You want me to go next?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I am in total agreement with Vice Chairman Johan. This is a 5,959 square foot lot that contains freshwater wetlands and beach vegetation. And quite frankly, to bring this application before the zoning board is an act of futility and contradicts the very purposes of zoning. There was, I feel, more of an attempt should have been made on the part of the applicant to bring a better application before the board. This application clearly does not meet the standards outlined in 255-850, 255-551, and 255-540. And for these reasons, I am denying this application in its entirety.
Jerry?
Okay, well, I'm in complete agreement with my fellow board members. Just a couple of comments that I'd like to make. It's clearly none of this meets any of the variance standards in any case at all. I would just like to iterate a few things. The planner at this lot size is listed as 5959 in its entirety. At the hearing, it was pointed out by the planner, Tyler Borsak, that the actual lot coverage is 3,006 feet once the wetland number is removed from the 5959. making it that much more of an incredible ask. There are a number of things that the planning department recommended that the applicant needs to do: the clearing in the wetlands, the deck in the wetlands, the house almost in the wetlands. The 1,220 feet size is very inappropriate. The storm runoff, the sanitation system close to the same wetlands, the side yard, all the variances requested, the pyramid, the side yards. It just goes on in its entirety. The applicant seemed to be looking to our board to help him on his plan. And I understand his frustration because the wetlands have moved over the last few decades. However, I too am going to deny this entire application, and I do think the applicant needs to reach out to the planning department and work with them. The agent, Rick Wayland, said that originally when this subdivision was created, there are 10 lots of this 40-foot width in this subdivision, and that 8 have some kind of development on them, probably for a long time already. But I think the applicant and his agent need to work with the planning department and perhaps look at those 8 that have actually improvements on them and maybe mirror one of them better. So I too am looking to deny this entire application.
Thank you, Terry. Are we good with that, council?
We are. Terry, your last thing was the applicant needs to look at the other neighboring developed properties.
Recommendations.
Just want to make sure I heard you right.
Those
Yeah,
that
no,
were
the
developed.
AC kicked on and all of a
Oh,
sudden I was
okay.
deaf. Thanks.
Oh, the AC came on good.
Thank you.
We'll move on. Our next application is for People's United Bank at 351 Montauk Highway, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-189-01-2. The size and location is 76,148 square feet. The description is to subdivide a single parcel into 2 properties, one of which would be non-conforming to lot area and lot width, and the other of which would be non-conforming to total lot coverage and lot line setbacks. The relief sought is 4 variances. 4 variances required for this application. 1 variance of 9,170 square feet is required from 255-11-10 of the town code to allow lot 2 to have a lot area of 30,830 square feet where 40,000 square feet is required. 1 variance of 40 feet from 255-11-10 of the town code is required to allow the lot width of lot 2 to be 120 feet, where 160 feet is required. 1 variance of 9.7 feet is required from 255-11-10 of the town code to allow the parking lot to be 5.3 feet from the side yard lot line where a 15-foot setback is required. 1 variance of 4,021 square feet from 255-11-10 of the town code is required to allow lot 1 to have a total lot coverage of 22,148 square feet, where 18,127 square feet is the maximum allowable, and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is A resident zone, X flood zone. The secret class is type 2. And this was Chairman Delene's, and I will start it for him tonight. This hearing was held on June 12th, 2022. The survey we were working from was from February 2nd, 2022. Dan Weaver was the applicant's representative. We'll remember that this was the situation with the bank on Montauk Highway, where this existing bank that's been there for many years with an existing parking lot, and it's attached to a house on a second lot that is to the north of it, and at the far side of that northern parcel, which the projected lot 2. The plan on behalf of the applicant is to separate the 2 so that one will continue as a residence and the other can continue operating as a business. It raised a couple of problems that were already pointed out in the description of the need for the application. the variances. One is that we undersized lot for the residents on lot 2, and also the fact that the undersized in terms of square area, but also width from 120 to 160 feet. So if we were to grant this, we're establishing a nonconformity, an undersized lot, and calling it a residential lot, and allow for other future development on there. At the time of the hearing, the next nearest neighbors to the north, also by coincidence named the Weavers, spoke and said that they were very concerned about what might happen on that lot if we were to grant this approval. What was said at that time, and I think which can be held to fact, is that anybody moving forward later on to renovate that house or to redevelop that site would have to conform to all setbacks and all other building code that would be applicable to any project that would take place on that lot. That was something that seemed to be of concern to not only the neighbors, but a couple of board members as we discussed what were we potentially being asked to approve. The 2 nonconformities will be created if we were to grant this application, because the overclearing and the overdevelopment on the bank lot, which now encompasses both the building and a fairly good-sized parking area. Some of the discussion we had was about protecting sight lines, and a planting plan was proposed that showed that the sight line between the residence and the bank would now be planted with a variety of plants that seemed to be something that was making a reasonable effort to provide some sort of protection from one to another. Let me just see here, total lot coverage. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think this comes down to, for me, it came down to a discussion, a question of if we allow this, if we grant this application, are we creating 2 nonconformities where it's really not in our best interest to be creating nonconformities within the town? However, in this particular case, by separating the 2 and having that residence, the residents would come under a certain amount of scrutiny in the future in terms of what goes on that site, which you would now as well. And the advantage to the applicant is to separate the business from the residential portion of the property. I didn't have a lot of problem with this. The planning department didn't have a lot of problem with it. I think we all have to face up to whether or not we're willing to approve a nonconformity, and if that's something that we are comfortable with. I personally am not bothered by it, and I am willing to, I can restate the codes, but I think that in each of these, I'm comfortable with moving forward and approving this application. Terry?
Okay. Well, all that was very factually laid out. I guess I have more of a problem with the creation of 2 nonconformities out of 1 current nonconformity. I can see some of the value in splitting out the residential side of this. There was discussion on that for the residential side. There's a portion of that lot that still is in the limited business overlay portion of it. And there was a discussion at the hearing as to whether the applicant was willing to covenant that that portion of the residential lot 2 will never be used to have add a business to it. I don't know that does it for me completely. There's always something that comes up that seems to change things. Ultimately, I've been back and forth on this. I do not like the idea of creating 2 nonconformities out of 1. I guess on the plus side of leaning toward approving it, both properties, lot 1 and lot 2, I believe they either already have IA systems on both portions of the property, or they're going to. And I think that's actually swaying me that I am willing to approve this this lot line modification. But and with the stipulation of the condition that the lot 2 never be used for business. Now, can they, you could stipulate that that has to be a residential lot entirely.
Yeah, the thing that was discussed at the public hearing is that they would be willing to covenant that that limited business overlay district is no longer really applicable to this residential lot.
And can we also stipulate that they make efforts to go to the town board at some point to get that changed via?
To change the lot itself, I don't think we can do that because we didn't discuss it. But
Okay.
it is going to be a recorded covenant that's going to run with the lands. And I think as Ed pointed out, if they do anything to that residence, they're going to have to move it because of where it is.
Okay, so I will approve it.
The application before us is to divide one parcel into two to separate the residential and commercial use. I am in favor of granting this, but a covenant should be prepared that does prohibit the establishment of any commercial use on Lot 2 once the subdivision is complete. The issue of excluding Lot 2 from the limited business overlay district is not in our jurisdiction, but an issue that should, in my opinion, be addressed by the town board at a future date. I do agree with a neighbor who appeared at the public hearing who wanted to see a more substantial buffer in the parking area between Lot 1 and 2, 5-foot buffer, which is not enough. I too was going back and forth with this application, so when I get into that situation, I just methodically go through the code. And I think the grant of this variance will not cause an undesirable change in the neighborhood since the parking lot and the commercial use already exist on Lot 1, as well as the existing dwelling on Lot 2. Can the benefits be sought by some other method other than a variance? In my opinion, the answer is no, because the lot is already pre-existing non-conforming. The variances are not substantial because the improvements already exist. So because of these reasons stated, I do approve this application and feel it is in keeping with the purposes of zoning as outlined in 255-850.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, council, there's just one thing, the planting plan that they had does not show the septics on it where the latest survey does.
Would you like to
Yeah.
put in the conditions that the planting plan be updated to include this, that include
I
that?
think so. Yeah, they could add more plantings. So,
Septic system moved to south side on Lot 2. What is that?
you see the survey. The survey is dated, where is that?
22, right?
Well, received 2/8, yeah, 2/2/22.
Oh, I'm not
And that one shows the new septic system.
Okay.
Like that on the planting plan that gets approved by the planning department.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, let's get it to be right.
And your comment about the covenant, I'm sorry, I didn't mention it, it was in my notes, but it was good to have it entered in the record because that was a big part of our conversation.
You had it straight in the public hearing. Dan Weaver actually said he would have no problem with that.
The public hearing was July 12th.
24, I don't
Yeah,
know. Oh,
Yeah, July 12th, not July, yeah, July 12th, is that what I said?
July 12th.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you didn't, you
I
said
did? I've got 7/12
Public hearing,
in
I have
front of me.
July 12th.
July 12th.
Yeah.
Okay,
What did I write down?
no, I don't know.
Okay, we ready to move on?
Ready to
we are
move on.
ready.
Our last determination for this evening is for Tricia and Daniel Shea of 137 West Lake Drive, Montauk. Suffolk County Tax Map 300-019-10-6. Size and location 38,534.21 square foot. It's part of the Montauk Beach Development Corporation, the south portion of Westlake Residential Section, subdivision number 6, block 184, 154, part of lots 1, 2, and 3. Map number, 1016, Montauk. The description is to construct a 313 square foot of decking, 42.5 square foot of outdoor shower, 44.4 square foot barbecue area. Patio, approximately 325 square feet of gravel parking. Paver walkway, approximately 550 square feet of revegetation, and an upgrade sanitary system on a parcel of land within jurisdiction and setbacks of freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-4-20 of the East Hampton Town Code, and 3 variances are required for this application. Variances of approximately 45.2 feet, 41 feet, and 25.5 feet are required from 255-4-30 of the Town Code to construct the proposed decking 54.8 feet. The patio, the pavers and barbecue 59 feet, and the outdoor shower 74.5 feet from freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence zone, X flood zone. The secret type is type 2. And this was Member Berger's.
Okay, this hearing was on July 12th, 2022. The survey that I have is dated November 15th, received by this board on November 19th of 2021. The agent was Daniel Koplowitz, who was the architect. And we have a site plan, which includes the septic plan dated April 16th, 2021. Revised April 20th, 2021. Okay, this is according to the, if you look at the survey, most of these improvements, all except for the driveway changes are, and the septic, are being proposed in the southwesterly portion of this property. It's a long property and oddly shaped, somewhat oddly shaped, and the property has a lot of wetlands adjacent to it and on the property itself. A lot of the land west and southwest of this property is vacant land that is owned by the town of East Hampton. There's also an unopened road on Garfield Avenue, which I believe the applicants were abandoning. And the project calls for a small platform on grade and proposed pavers on grade in the rear of the house and for a barbecue in that area, and a proposed shower, which is located on the south side of the house next to an AC unit. All of these are, some of the variances are not that small. The decking, the variance is 45.2 feet. Putting it 54.8 feet from the wetlands. The others are, the patio pavers are 41-foot variance, and the barbecue, 41 feet for the patio pavers and the barbecue on it, and 25.5-foot variance for the outdoor shower, which will be 74.5 feet from the wetlands. Although the 45 is a relatively large variance, this applicant is offering a number of steps on mitigation. They're upgrading the sanitary. It's not required to a low nitrogen IA system, which will be put up at the northern portion of the property, northwestern portion, away from the wetlands. I believe it's the 79.9 feet from the wetlands. And they're expanding the driveway near the front portion of the house. It's the location roughly where the existing sanitary is today, which they will have removed, I believe, per the Suffolk County Health Department. And so they're expanding that gravel driveway out. Not in any ask for a variance. There is a tree with some other gravelly area that just north of that, where they're going to remove those stones and revegetate it. Aside from the IA system, they are offering a scenic easement over the wetland. You can see the scenic easement line on the survey running from the south part of the property all the way up through to the north, and a small buffer along the western side. Now, what I neglected to get was the size of the buffer. I don't know how small is, so maybe the planner can help us with that. The size of the buffer, and I didn't see it listed in the TAM either, but they're offering that buffer. And additionally, the final offer of mitigation is for about 550 feet of revegetation on the southern side of the existing clearing, which is also designated. It's kind of like a dog head on the survey in hatch lines. So I think with all this mitigation that's being offered, I feel this is an improvement to the environmental conditions, the scenic easement, the buffer, and the revegetation plan. I think that it meets the natural resources special permit standards that will actually improve and help the runoff conditions with the buffer. And I feel that the benefit to the applicant does outweigh any detriment to the town or to the neighborhood here. And it's the same for the pavers and the barbecue and the outdoor shower. I think there are really no alternative locations on the property because there are the prevalence of the wetlands running along it. And so I'm looking to approve this project in its entirety.
Thank you.
Sure. I do agree with Member Berger. This is a 38,534 square foot lot. And they're asking for an NRSP and 3 variances. The lot is already improved with a 2,150 square foot 2-story residence. As mitigation, the project is proposing to revegetate a portion of the southern side of the existing clearing limits, a scenic easement over the wetlands, a small buffer along the western side of the property, and revegetate 560 square feet at the southern side of the existing clearing envelope. And as mitigation, installing a new IA system. I think this is adequate mitigation to approve the decking, patio, pavers, and barbecue, but I am not in favor of the outdoor shower, which is substantial. It's a 74-foot variance from
No.
freshwater, no?
25 foot.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I am in favor, let me start that again. I think this is adequate mitigation to approve the decking, patio, and pavers, and the barbecue. The decking, patio space are at the rear of the residence, and it's a relatively small request. The driveway extension is minor to the existing driveway, which is located over the existing septic system, which will be abandoned and removed. So I am in favor of granting this application. I feel it is in compliance with 255-850, 255-551, and 255-540 of the town code.
Thank you.
Can I go back to the shower?
You want to go back to,
Well,
all right,
they also said
yeah.
they're to put a dry well.
settle that out.
Yeah, dry well.
Yes.
So if they put the dry well in, the shower is okay with both Terry and Denise?
So they're asking for a 25.5 foot. Okay, so, yeah, there is a dry well though, didn't they?
Well,
Did they propose to
he's
have
got it
one
in the
there?
plan. The
That's what
architect
I thought.
stated he
Okay.
has it in the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with the dry well and the corrected variance, you're good with it?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm good with it.
thank you.
Thank you. I don't want to add an awful lot to what's been said. I think it's been covered pretty well. I think that a couple of factors here, the 38,000 square foot lot, it's a large lot. The work that's being asked for is not significant. In TAM, it's mentioned a couple of times. It's referred to as a minimal outdoor space requested, requesting a minimum amount in order to add additional outdoor utilization of the property. The planners saw this as the proposed driveway as a fairly minor change. These comments were throughout the TAM. It was a reasonable request. However, we have to remember that this particular lot sits quite adjacent to Montauk Lake and Lake Montauk. And Lake Montauk is of great interest to us, especially on that end of the lake. And we are looking forward to do everything we can to not only protect the environment, but to watch out for things like potential additional runoff and any effluents that might make its way down into the lake. That really lends heavily towards looking favorably on this when the IA system goes in and we replace an older IA system. The IA system goes in, which particularly in this sensitive area, throughout the town, of course, but in this particularly in this sensitive area, is always very much appreciated by any applicant that comes in front of us. I think the re-veg of 550 square feet was a nice addition to the application here. I think that in net, agreeing with my fellow board members that the ask here versus what we were being offered here as a counter to what the variance is required with the septic, the improved IA system, the revegetation, and the fact that the septic system as it is exists. This is going basically in the same spot, which puts it about as far away from the wetlands as is possible on this particular lot. So just agreeing with what's already been said, I am also looking to approve this application.
Yes, the existing clearing is 7275, and after the re-veg, it'll be 6726.
Okay.
Okay, so it's an improvement in that. It's not a re-veg after clearing, it's already cleared.
Got it.
And can we stipulate, Brian, neglected to get the small buffer, what Tyler meant by
That's how
that?
it's
Do
worded.
you see it? And it's part of the offer by the applicant. We see the scenic easement. Can we condition that the buffer will be established with the approval of the planning department? That it's, whether it's 10 feet or whatever it would be?
I'm having a hard time. I see the reference to the buffer in Tyler's assessment, and I see the scenic easement obviously on the survey. I don't know if that's what was meant by the buffer. The clearing boundary is pretty far away from the wetland, or pretty close to they're pretty close to the perimeter around the perimeter of the improvements. If they're limited to the clearing boundary that they have on the survey, you've provided a pretty significant buffer to the wetlands. I'm not sure where. I don't know. Reading it cold, it sounds like the scenic easement is what was meant by the buffer, but I don't want to.
Well, he said in addition to a small
Yeah,
buffer.
I see it. It's read to establish a scenic easement over wetlands and a small buffer
It just
along the
says
western
small.
side of the property.
Yeah.
It doesn't say how large.
So can we stipulate that the buffer?
Would you want it to
Size
be a
be-
specific size? 10 feet, what?
Well, typically, I know they have algorithms on wetlands, how far, how much should be.
The scenic easement is shown here. There's about 50 feet between the clearing boundary and the wetland now. I think, basically everything that is not going to be cleared between the clearing boundary and the wetland really becomes the buffer if they adhere to their clearing limits.
So in other words, the buffer would be between the clearing boundary and the scenic easement
Between the clearing boundary and the wetlands.
and the wetlands. I can confirm that with the applicant's agent, see if that's, what they're talking
You
about.
might want to be
Yeah.
specific instead
Yeah,
of just
I mean,
saying.
At one point, the proposed clearing goes almost to the wetland. The wetland closest point where the proposed deck is, going over to the proposed deck. of
Around here
54.8
is
feet.
the closest point.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with conditioning is because it wasn't, really spoken about or promised or covenanted at the public hearing. We spring that on in the last minute.
Well, I thought the architect did mention it. The architect page.
I mean, if it is something that would change your decision, I would say this is not a determination that needs to be adopted by next week. If you want to table it, you can do that. But only if this is something that makes or breaks it for you. That's my advice.
I don't know that it breaks it for me.
Doesn't for me.
Doesn't.
Me either.
Okay.
Well, technically you're not gang up on because that's still not a full majority.
we
You could
still
carry
can
it
wait
over.
off, though, if you want to put a specific number.
Well, we're going to put in there, they're giving a small buffer.
That's exactly what we're going to put in there,
Yeah,
yeah. Because
okay,
we adopt
okay.
much of what happens
right.
from the TAM, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we can leave it at this and you can ask the guy?
I mean, I'm very
Yeah.
comfortable with what's been,
Yeah, no, I am.
you
too.
know,
Yeah.
But if we can get a
mitigated.
buffer
miti-
too, let's get a buffer.
Yeah,
I have no problem reaching out. It just can't be a condition at this moment.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
So
But yeah, it's
table-
not a deal breaker
Okay.
for me, not with the IA
Have
and
it
the
approved.
and Scenic Easement.
Okay.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on. Under other decisions, we have Michael and Leslie Racone at 22 Dune Lane, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-176-04-07. Council, would you like to advise us?
So Laura, was this to reopen to submit a last sanitary plan? Vegetation plan. So we had asked them, they were late. And right, it's another one of the, came in day after, 2 days after. So technically you'd need to reopen, accept it, and then close it.
Yeah, because Recon
there's a
asked us
motion.
for additional time to begin with, which
Yes.
we granted.
Yeah.
Now they missed the deadline.
But you want the revegetation plan, so.
I
yes.
guess we
You-
do.
you do.
Sure. Okay, but I had, now that was mine, I was covering that one, but,
That's just to close, to keep it part of the record.
Yes,
Your
yes.
determination is a whole nother ballgame.
so, but do we have the plan?
Yeah, she just can't show it to you until you
Okay,
reopen the
right,
record.
okay. So I don't have the details because I printed my agenda before Recon got on it.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
okay. whatever. So, for Michael and Leslie Recon, 22 Dune Lane in Amagansett, tax map 300-176-176-04-07. I make a motion to reopen the record to accept the applicant's submission
Of a re-veg plan?
of a re-veg plan.
I second.
I'll concur.
Okay,
Okay.
do I have a motion to
And
close?
Joan, are you concurring?
No, Joan's not part.
Oh, she can't be.
No,
I wasn't part of the hearing.
she's also not on roll call technically.
Oh,
so,
okay. All right. All right. So now we've accepted it.
Yeah, motion to
So now I
close?
make a motion on Michael Leslie Racone, 22 Dune Lane, Amagansett, tax map 300-176-04-07 to close the written record
I sec-
immediately.
I second.
I'll concur.
Thank
We are good.
Thank you.
Oh.
Okay, we'll come to one of our favorite moments of every meeting where we
Yes.
approve the
Oh,
minutes of the previous meeting and we turn to Member Berger.
Yeah. Okay, so make a motion to approve the minutes, the draft minutes from August 2nd, 2022 for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals.
I'll second it.
I concur.
Thank you. Now we have resolutions. First one is Jacqueline Zarodkowitz, Moscow at 46 Soundview Drive, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-005-01-06.
So this was a determination that was drafted and distributed to the board last week for review and approval. This was a unanimous approval of the NRSP and the 8 variances sought for this application. This was the property that had that constrained area where there was going to be a proposed hot tub and an outdoor shower on a deck that's pre-existing, and they're going to rebuild the deck. You had some discussion with Beth Baldwin about whether or not double setbacks were required, and she had confirmed with the building department that they were not because of the pre-existing nature of the deck. That's about it. I ask that the board adopt this determination as written.
Member Berger, would you like to
I will
make that?
a motion. Okay. Jacqueline Zarodkowitz, Moscow, at 46 Soundview Drive in Montauk, tax map 300-005-01-06, to approve the determination as written.
I'll second it.
I concur.
Good.
Next, we have Theodore Weinrib at 35 Montauk Boulevard, Springs, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-096-02-22.6.
So this is, if the board will recall, this was a very minor application for a 0.8 foot variance for a shed that he discovered a few days before closing on the property was not within setbacks. Unfortunately, he also discovered at the public hearing that that shed sits on the sanitary system, which is what led to the board's unanimous denial of this application. And that is reflected in this draft determination that was circulated last week. And I ask that the board adopt this determination as written.
In the matter of the application of Theodore Weinrib, 35 Montauk Boulevard, Springs, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-96-2-22.6, I make a motion to approve the determination as written.
I'll second that.
I'll concur. Next, we have Shahab Khan of 128 Central Avenue, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-175-2-27.
So this is the determination, also unanimous approval by the board. This was a situation where we have, in addition to an NRSP and 3 variances, where we have the existing system, sanitary system, very likely sitting in the groundwater. So the IA sanitary system is a vast improvement according to the board. This was also involving the generator to be located over in an existing gravel area to the west. And this application also proposed a nice approximately 4,200 square foot scenic easement that covers the wetlands on the parcel, as well as a buffer surrounding those wetlands. The board unanimously approved this application, and I ask that this determination be adopted as written.
Therefore, in the case of Shahab Khan, 128 Central Avenue, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-175-2-27, I'd like to make a motion to accept the determination as written.
Second.
I concur.
Next is Kristen and David Bunker and Bank, 40 Flag Hill Road, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-038-08-3.2.
Call this the fastest resolution in the West. This was actually just heard last week, and this was a modification. This was where the pool patio was constructed no longer than the pool itself. So it was a pretty quick and easy decision that the board was willing to make at the actual public hearing. David Kirst was the attorney that came on, no public opposition or comment. So I asked the board to adopt this resolution amending the determination as written.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
In the matter of the application of Kristen and David Bunker and Bank, 40 Flaggy Hill Road, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 338-8-3-2, I make a motion to approve the determination as written.
I'll second it.
I concur.
Okay, we come to our adjournment. Maybe tonight we can ask Member Berger to make the motion to close the meeting. I don't think it's required by law that the vice chair does it.
No.
Nope.
Okay, you want me to make it?
Why not?
Okay, I will make a motion to close the public hearing, the public work session for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals for what's today?
August 9th.
August 9th at 7:47 PM.
Second it.
And I concur.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.